Good morning. Still morning, yes, it is. What a delight. We are going to move on into our first breakout section. You guys have chosen to hang out with Rabbi Dr. Dan Madden. Bless you. A very well published, you guys can see in your packet, there's a bio. Writer and ritualist, frequent conference presenter. She leads weekly Torah study at Malibu Jewish Center and Synagogue, teaches and leads services for non-denominational Oahu, Jewish Ohana. I want to go. Very badly want to go hang out there. She serves as rabbi of St. John's Medical Center in Santa Monica, provides spiritual direction to rabbinic students at HHD, LA's campus, and serves as adjunct faculty of Kavod V'Nichum, Gamliel's Institute, and for Open Temple Soul Journey. I don't think you do enough. I don't know how you possibly find all of these places to lead, to teach, and to guide, and many of these positions are touching the Jewish community as a whole, but also you're guiding future leaders and future rabbis, and you're guiding us today. It is a true honor to have you as one of our presenters for the day as we talk about spiritual transformation, moving into the high holiday season. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Your time has been blessed, sadly, by 8 minutes. So okay. We're moving towards the 11 o'clock ending of this beautiful session, so let's move right into it.
Thank you so much. So, Rochim Habaim, blessed are those who come. And I say that not just because you came to this session, but blessed are those who come to really think about the topic of transformation. I am really interested in the intersection or intersectionality of what people actually want from us. And what they want from us is something that is spiritually meaningful. Yeah, they might want to come to learn, but what they really want is something that's spiritually meaningful. So I've been thinking a lot about the power of mikvah, which is really why I'm here, to represent the Center Catholic Community Beit Din, and to really try to expand our thinking beyond mikvah for conversion, beyond mikvah just for someone who's getting married, but to really consider what we can bring to our communities and how, although we mightn't be able to get our entire community into the mikvah, how we can bring the mikvah to them. So there are a lot of things that I'm thinking about, and I'm going to just kind of free flow for a moment. I'm really interested in what a lot of people are interested in these days, which is earth-based Judaism. Judaism literally from the ground up. And when I think about the elements of earth, air, fire, and water, it occurs to me that fire and air are always associated with something heavenly or divine. Earth is definitely associated with us as humans, Adamah, right, from the earth. But water is always a transitional medium, and it's the channel, really, or the conduit or the portal between realms. It's a change agent, water. It causes a dissolution, really, of many, many things. It wears things away, and it offers the opportunity for life. It's the source of life. It's a source of flowingness and birth. And, of course, we are already largely composed of water. And when I think about mikvah and gathering of waters, I think about it as an opportunity to gather up fragmented parts of our souls. I think about how we use water on a regular basis for netilat yadayim, for example, that we do tashlik already as part of our high holiday smorgasbord of connectivity. And I think about, we read Sefer Yonah, all about water. We talk about the idea of, on Shmini Atzeret, we start praying again for water, for rain. So I think we're already there in terms of moving through the high holy days, thinking about water. The Bavli reminds us that there is no water other than Torah. So how can we bring the Torah of water to the people that we serve? I think that when we look at Ezekiel, who says, and I will pour water on you, I will pour pure water on you, and you will be transformed. This is our key. This is our little opening. So I understand the process of tshuva as really moving, as with a mikvah, from a process of dislocation to a process of coherence. I don't really understand purity and impurity, not even in ritual terms. And I don't think it resonates with our folks either. But I think the idea of moving from fragmentation to wholeness totally resonates. So I want to just begin, and I'm going to ask you to partner up to find somebody that you can be a chavruta with for the moment, or if you're in a trio, to find a trio, because I want to walk through a few sources. Part one, I just want us to think about water. So I'm going to ask you to partner up, and there are 4 little quotes here. One from Lamentations, one from In the Name of Rabbi Ishmael, one from Natalie Diaz, who's a Mojave poet, and one from Marge Piercy from her Kaddish poem. So I'm going to ask you to just take 2 minutes and find somebody to work with and identify which one for the 2 of you, which of those quotes has some resonance. And Marcelo, if you don't have a hands up, I have one for you. Don't be shy, because we don't have a lot of time. Yes. Do you have any more cats? Sorry. Last one.
Is timeless presence your translation?
Yes, that is my translation. And thank you for asking that question, because I find that a lot of people, most of the communities that I serve are a little bit on the outlier side, do not resonate with the word God. They just don't. They automatically shut off. But timeless presence, source of all, they like. Okay, so our 2 minutes are up. So let's come back together. So I'm going to ask you to consider what resonated with you. The idea of pouring out your heart, the idea of water as a story, as the essential story, as the idea of water within water, or the idea of time flowing through us like water. And it may be that whichever piece resonated with you because of where you are in your moment in life. Right? So I have lots and lots of sources, but I want to go directly to Rumi. Rumi says, "What hurts the soul? To live without tasting the water of its own essence." So when our souls are disconnected, and isn't the whole process of tshuva the process of returning to our most essential selves? So when our souls are disconnected, when we are feeling scattered and fragmented and broken and confused and distracted, how then can we taste the water of our own essence? Mircea Eliade, who's the great, in my opinion, the great psychoanalytic theorist, says that in water everything is dissolved, every form is broken up, everything that has happened ceases to exist, nothing that was before remains after immersion in water. Not an outline, not a sign, not an event. Immersion is the equivalent at the human level of death at the cosmic level. This is positive, I want to say, not negative. The cataclysm, the flood, which periodically dissolves the worlds into the primeval ocean, breaking up all forms, doing away with the past. Water possesses the power of purifying, regenerating, giving new birth. Water purifies and regenerates because it nullifies the past and restores, even if only for a moment, the integrity of the dawn of things. And that's what I'm after when I work with people, and I want them to have a powerful sense of tshuva, a sense of returning, a sense of wiping out all the dissonance and coming back to a coherent whole. Lao Tzu says that nothing in the world is as soft and yielding as water, yet for dissolving the hard and inflexible, nothing can surpass it. The soft overcomes the hard, the gentle overcomes the rigid. So have I sold you on water? I hope. Now we're going to go to tahor and tameh. And I give you a bunch of different sources that I think are very, very interesting. I really like Erwin Keller's idea that tahor is spiritually available. That's what that really means, that we've washed off all the schmutz that keeps us from being available to ourselves, and we are again connected. I think that mikveh is our greatest unused resource. And as I said earlier, it may not be possible to get everybody that you work with to a mikveh, but it might be possible to create a mikveh experience out of mikveh. Let's go to look at mikveh. Part 3, we're on mikveh. We're in Breakout. And we see that mikveh means gathering. So how congruent is this with the idea of returning to your own soul? An opportunity to ritually regather yourself or gather yourself again. The gathering of waters, all those disparate parts of ourselves. I want to go to Rabbi for just a moment. It points out that prayer is like a mikveh. So how do we create a mikveh experience through prayer? And tshuva is like water. Just as the mikveh is sometimes open and other times closed, so too the gates are sometimes open and other times closed, but the water is always open. The gates of tshuva, we know, are always open. I want us to look at water rituals. I'm flipping you to part 4. You can read the resources on your own later. But I really want us to look at this idea from Rabbi Mordechai Kaplan. To reconstruct means to reaffirm, re-achieve, re-establish. And he then goes on to say, when we have to deviate a little bit from tradition, 2 things that we should keep in mind. 1, find a way to retain at least some part or element of the traditional practice. And the other, some new practice should be instituted that might serve as a substitute for the one that cannot be observed. I want to mention a couple of things that were pandemic inspired. You may know that tahara ruchanit began as a response to the fact that people could not do a traditional tahara during the pandemic. People who have participated in tahara ruchanit, which has been all symbolic, right, because there's no physical contact, report that it is incredibly spiritually moving. Another thing, tashlik became impossible during the pandemic. People couldn't gather, people couldn't be outside, people were ill, people were afraid. I created a tashlik for those who could not be gathering, for those whose mobility prevents them from walking to a river or an ocean or a stream. And completely using the ideas of Mayim and Shemayim, I created a ritual where people could use birdseed, which, by the way, is far, far more environmentally correct than throwing schmutz into the water. You may think it's a great idea to throw your bread, but it's not so good for the fish and not so good for waterfowl. So I'm going to invite us to reimagine now. What might we do based on what we know about our communities, based on the people that we serve? How might we get the idea of mikveh and bring that to our communities in a new way, in a ritualized or kavanah way that actually makes sense for the people that we serve? So I want us to just take a moment and sit with the idea of, like, we are here to consider how to recreate or create a ritual, or recreate or create some new kavanah to help the folks we work with really come up with the idea that tshuva is a good thing. Tshuva is not a punishment. It's an opportunity to reimagine and to recombine the best of themselves and thus to be transformed through the process. So if you go towards the end of the packet, I have some suggestions for composing kavanot or prayers or rituals. So if you think to yourself, oh, I'm not feeling that creative, I'm not feeling like a ritualist, what I'd like you to do is take a moment and look back at all of the readings. You're going to take a few minutes now to just, and again, maybe just sit by yourself for a moment, take a pencil in your hand, take a pen in your hand, circle a word, circle a phrase, circle something in this packet that says, this makes sense to me. The idea that every water, within water, every piece of water, there's a story. The idea that time flows through us like water. Is there something in any of the readings in this packet that you can say to yourself, yes, there's a germ here of an idea for a kavanah that I can write to bring my people about the idea of tshuva, or a ritual that I can create either for myself, because we too need rituals of preparation, we need rituals of coherence ourselves if we're going to serve communities, or a ritual that I can bring either virtually or in person as a preparation for the High Holy Days. I know we have a lot of stuff that we are obliged to do, but I always think that when we come up with something unique and heartfelt and sincere and innovative, this is what people truly want. They know what to expect. They want something unexpected that makes the holiday click into place for them. So take a few moments, circle some words, circle some phrases, and then I'm going to ask you to collaborate again. Find a partner, and I'll walk down amongst you. Find a partner and see if something is rising for you. Any questions? I do not. I'm sorry. I'm literally out, but maybe you can share. And you may talk amongst yourselves. You don't have to be quiet. You didn't know you were going to have to work then. You can share. Share your conversation. Ask me questions. If you have a question, ask me. How many of you never create your own rituals? How many people never do that?
Never what?
Never create your own rituals. Never? Okay, excellent. I really want to challenge you to consider doing that. And there are guidelines. There are guidelines. I honestly, it's not to add more, it's to help people focus.
I'll let somebody else create a ritual.
Yeah.
I just don't create rituals. I mean, you asked, right?
Right.
Well,
How many people
his
do?
ritual is to be honest.
How many people do create rituals? Yeah. Okay. So I'm here for questions or comments, but what I'd like to have is before you leave here, even if you come up with one sentence of Kavanah, one paragraph of Kavanah, an outline for a ritual that you're thinking, like dreaming, like, oh, I might have time to do this for the holidays, and it might fit in here. It might be for Slichot. It might be for the intermediate days. It might be for, Sukkot. I'm beginning to think about something.
Are you inviting response?
I am.
Oh, okay. So we worked together, Rabbi Zisa and I, and we were just looking at the Yom Kippur, and we were thinking of sort of creating something based on the idea that where he talks about reveling in our apartness, different from the distinctiveness and identity we were conferred upon, but that our ego becomes a shield, and part of High Holy Days might be to be able to lay down the shield so we can bring our apartness into community and into the fullness of the circle so that we can each receive each other's gifts. So we're figuring out maybe a mini ritual or a kavanah, either for Sukkot or Erev Rosh Hashanah, that might help set the tone for the experience of Yom Noraim.
Anybody else who's percolating?
Thank you. I'm just thinking about ritual as a standalone event that either is transformative or is only momentarily inspiring. We've all had probably more of the latter, where we've been part of a ritual, we thought, God, that felt so amazing, and a minute later we're back in pattern and routine and the rest of life. So I wonder if we could enrich ritual by creating an elongated path from it, out of it, so that as a community, as clergy, in community, in Kabruta, we say, let's go into the water, but let's find a way of keeping the water still viable a week later in our conversation, and a week later in our conversation. And because when you talk about issues like guilt, shame, these are deeper than a momentary flush. And I just wonder, aside, I'm not talking about people's psychology, but how do we pull them along from those moments so that it's not just a flash?
So that's where I think traditional mikveh might be helpful and might not be. Traditional mikveh is that one-off, I'm in and I'm out again. But what if you create the idea of mikveh, that everything is connected? We wash our hands. We symbolically connect ourselves to water. We read a poem about water. We read something about mikveh. We create something about mikveh as a community. So yes, I think that for me would be the point. That it's not. The easy fix would be, we're all going to line up and dunk, or we're going to go to the ocean and we're going to dip in and we're going to come out and feel amazing and transformed. But yeah, I think that for me, what I'm really interested in is the trajectory. So how do I literally walk into what I'm feeling, whether it's guilt or shame or regret or grief or yearning or whatever it is, and hold that through the entire experience so that the shofar is a call to immerse. Everything in some way is connected. So yeah, I think you're right. I think that's what I would want to do. That is what I want to do. Who's next?
So this might be overly simple, but it's a little bit of an epiphany for me that it all starts with water. So the word teshuvah is to return. First there was light, then there was water and separation of the waters. So for Yom Kippur, I think I already have my whole Yom Kippur. Usually you have Rosh Hashanah and then a week to prepare for Yom Kippur, but I think I have the idea that teshuvah, it's not about guilt, it's about returning to the pureness of soul and the light that we all came from. And then when we break the fast, that shahakol that we say when we drink the water becomes very significant, where we not only immerse in the water, but we take the water within us. And water is part of our everyday life, so it's like a ritual within our daily life. Each time, we wash our hands, we say the blessing that thank God all our parts are working well. It's a way to make our daily routine into realizing this is like the story of creation and the story of our life. It all starts with the water.
You get an
It's so true that it all starts with the water. But when I was on a cruise as a rabbi a few years ago, we had a lecturer who showed us movies about scientific experiments that he had conducted. It shows that water has a memory. So I was thinking as you were speaking, if we ingest that water, maybe it has the memory of our mikvah. And I think it's interesting to continue along those lines, Janet. Happy to give my input anytime.
One of the things that I encourage, because I often am with a lot of people who are much older and who can't fast, but one of the things that I have done is to have a cup of water before we begin Kol Nidre. We're ingesting the water, and we are connecting to the water, and then we just go all the way through till when we break fast, some who do, some who don't, some who can't, but we have that water again. So I think there's so many things that we can do that are small and, and very creative, but deeply, deeply meaningful. Some other suggestions or things that are percolating? Oh, you did right, Richard.
Well, you just convinced me. That's beautiful. To introduce all the things you spoke about and have everybody have a glass of water ready for people to drink. And everybody drink the water. And in breaking the fast, the first thing you do is drink water in an incredibly conscious way, as if imbibing all the teachings you've given us today. So you just changed my mind.
That's high praise indeed. Thank you. Anybody else is something's percolating or flowing or spurting up or a little geyser of thought? Because it doesn't have to be massive, right? It can be tiny, but meaningful if it's connected to everything. We don't have to reinvent everything. We just have to maybe rethink it a little bit.
Yeah, I believe that we need to hello everybody.
Yeah.
We need to adapt the ritual in order to serve the congregation. I mean, it's meaningless for some people, and they feel like, what is that? So we need to meet them where they are. And especially, my congregation is Reconstructionist. So in order to survive, I need to do that. I mean, from a conservative ceremony to a, kumbaya, whatever it is. Seriously, one time I was in the cemetery, and everybody gathered and started to hold hands and sing Hallelujah. I mean, what was I gonna say? No, you need to be seated there. It's whatever people need, and that's what we are here for, to serve the purpose.
Yes, and people want direction. They want direction. So if your community says instead of drinking the water, we want to have a little cup of water that we pour out because we want to pour out our heart for the high holidays, you direct them to do that. It's what you know that they need and want, but we have to take an active part. We can't always, in my opinion, just let people just do whatever, because that's not meaningful. They want some direction. They want us to tell them why we're doing what we're doing. At least that's in my experience.
It's not brewed yet, but I'm thinking about on the coast, we do it in this transitionary time when it's dark and it's late. And I was thinking about many years ago, when I was a student, I was at your shul, we walked down and we passed out early before that meeting. It was dark, right? So thinking about what it would mean in my shul when we're doing Sukkot to do a ritual of feet washing, actually, to both welcome in the Rabbi, welcome in one another, caring for one another, and bringing in this component of water and teaching about water and its transformational moment. Because these folks are not in the valley going to the beach. They're not mikvahing, but it's a very transitional time on how to maybe bring some of these elements together. It's not brewed. It's brewing because you're starting it.
Thank you. That's all I ask for, is that, nobody should have anything like immediately in a script, but like, what might I do with this idea? And how conscious are we these days about the importance of water, the value of water, the necessity of water, the scarcity of water? I mean, really powerful in our moment. And so to harness the power of what we're already, that existential angst, and then put it towards Jewish, I would say, purposefulness, right? How powerful is that? I also want to say that not too long ago with the Oahu Jewish Ohana, I was there for Tu B'Shvat, and we did a water ritual, and we actually used, this is back from my Mishnah class with Rabbi Tova August a million years ago, when we talked about Netilat Nedayim, and I did research how big was the log, and what size eggshell was being used, and all of that. And we literally did a communal hand washing ritual with half an eggshell. It's on Ritual Well, if you ever want to look at it. It's posted there, complete with the video of people washing each other's hands. So it's doable, and in small groups, if you break people into small groups, it's totally doable, and it might be more practical to do a hand washing than a foot washing just because. But, there are many things like that that are deep in our tradition that we can harness and make, really do that reconstruction idea, right? Look at what we have and then think about how we can reconstruct, or as Rabbi says, the old shall become new and become holy, right? We can take these ancient ideas, give them a modern twist, make them holy, and bring people to wholeness through them. Anyone else with some thoughts or questions?
It's a thought based on, I don't want to watch anybody speak personally, but Yera, where God appears to Abraham, and in the appearance of three persons, and what he provides them, maybe we could be inviting some malachim into these moments.
I like it. And so whether you have people who are into water sprites or water angels, yeah, Anybody else? Yeah.
We're really fortunate. I'm in Ventura, so we're right at the beach. And in a way, it creates a problem because, we can go down and do this wonderful, we can do some readings, we can read Micah, we can sing some songs, we can blow a shofar, but still, we go to the beach, and the beach is the beach, right? So those moments of transitioning people really over to the water feels like perhaps I'm thinking what if we took some pictures of water as people approach the shore. I mean, not everyone goes really to the water, but to literally bring water to people, whether it's pouring water over their hands so that they can begin to then use that to open them into just being able to pour out the words of their heart, as we've read here, to, in a way, when you're looking at the ocean, it's so vast. How do you personalize it so that you're bringing it from all that water to just the water in your hands to then begin to pray and not get distracted? It's a very social time. People, walk to the beach and they start talking and schmoozing, and they may throw their breadcrumbs, but are they really creating that personal moment? So something that can help them continue that and really make that moment transformative.
Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi Lisa. And that's actually a perfect segue to what I was going to say. I was lucky to come across, there's an international reverse postulate where there are synagogues all around the world that they're having to be able to go and rather than throw something into the ocean to do the tikkun olam. So now that would be nice because now you're part of an international organization. And they have a little map that you can say, oh, there's my temple, my little dot there in the big map of the world. And know that we're also doing some tikkun olam, we're doing something in the real world to add to all the spiritual and things and mental and emotional things we're doing. We're actually there to accomplish something and clean up the beach. Or in our case, where the beach is not that far, we're going to find a reservoir or a lake, but they said it's okay, anybody can water in there.
I want to say a word about my understanding of Tikkun Olam, which is not only a beach cleanup, although it could be. I honestly think about Tikkun Olam as an ongoing eternal rectification, right? There's no end to it. And so I love what you're saying about anything that connects people to, the earth, the oceans, the water, also connects them to other people. Because you can't do that beach cleanup and not think about I'm doing good for the common humanity. And it's not enough to do it one day and to be a dot on the map. This is something we want to take on. I always think about this idea of how do we attach ourselves, how do we attach the people that we serve to the real world? And how do we make prayer real? To use my common words, right? How do we make prayer real? We make it real by making it something that's tangible, not just words, but something tangible. So I like to think a lot about wholeness and holiness. Tikkun, rectification, olam, forever. There's no end to it, right? And so every time that we revisit these things, we come back to the source. And we come back to ourselves. So I think that's really beautiful and very much in keeping with what I'm hoping to offer you today. Just some thoughts to, spark your own ideas about what might honestly be something meaningful. I thought that what Rabbi Einstein was saying about what do people want? Why would they come anyway? Why would they want to belong? If they don't find value, they don't. They don't come, they don't come back. They disaffiliate, they move on. Maybe they're somewhat Jewish, maybe they're not. But we lose them forever. So engagement, and never too old. So I was thinking about what you were saying about walking to the beach. Not everybody can walk to the beach, right? So we bring the beach to them, like you said, with pictures. Or those who can, take off your shoes, walk into the water to do tashlit. Don't just do it from afar. Like, become one with the action. And to me, these are the only ways that people want to come back. This was transformative and meaningful and replicative. I can do it again. I can do it on my own. I don't need somebody to set up the ritual for me. And I can do it on an ongoing basis. So one thing that might be possible is to have whatever it is you decide to do, but to try to say to people like, can we commit to doing this beach cleanup once every 3 months, quarterly, maybe once a month is too often, but can we do this? Can we return to our source every 3 months? Can we take the idea of drinking water further? Can we ask that everybody begin to bring a water bottle with you so that we're not handing out plastic bottles? Little things that are ongoing rectifications and ongoing connections, and make people feel good about their Judaism. Not that this is a chore, but this is a joy. And there's something here for me. There's something meaningful to me and for me in connecting with the people who think like I do and who want the things that I want. I think this is our great challenge. And I think water is the answer. I think it's our secret weapon. Our secret sauce, if you will, right? Our secret flow, because it's flowing through all of us all the time, right? And how many people do you see who are really honestly thirsty? There's a reason we have that in our liturgy, a dear thirst for water. We have people who they're dying of thirst, and we need to bring them to the water, for sure. I think I probably used up my time.
Incredible, we have to go up.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much. And thank you for being my teacher and my teachers.
Thank you so much. I know you guys all listened that about it. That's fantastic. Friends, hopefully, you take the sources, check your neighbor, or send a note to the Board of Rabbis, and I'll have to forward it to you. You have an opportunity to spend time learning from an amazing Rabbi Mordecai family.
Thank you.
And it will be with you just across the hall.
We do Tasi on first year Rosh
You have an opportunity to learn with Sarah Boone Benor, and
Hagar in the desert, it says Vatashir, she threw him into the bush. So that's the name of the word. And so, and then the angel comes and opens her eyes and there's a well of water.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. So
thank you so much.
Yeah. No,